6 killed, more than 50 shot. It was yet another horrifying weekend. That was just a weekend of carnage in Chicago. It's a public safety emergency. But what are we hearing from the authorities in the wake of the new wave of violence? More empty rhetoric.
Let's not forget, the police aren't the ones out there doing it. We can only do so much. Now, can we do better? Of course we can. But it's just not about that. Crime is a very complex issue. You know, when you look at resources, educational opportunities, healthcare, mental health treatment, all of those things play a part in it.
Joining me now to discuss this true American tragedy are Fox News political analyst Gianno Caldwell and criminal defense attorney Anthony Tall. Now, Anthony is joining me here in studio, and I want to be direct in what I'm asking you.
Yeah.
Democrats have been in charge of Chicago for a long time. I can't remember, Republicans enacting their policies in there. So you've got Rahm Emanuel, you had President Obama, the situation's getting bad and worse. What are we supposed to do?
Well, I think it's going to take a couple of things. I think one thing that we need to focus on is that this is a gang war. As someone who's representing gangs in Los Angeles, rather almost all gangs, Latino, African American, white, Asian, you got to remember that these gang members are looking for some type of support. And financially, Democrats, you're correct. Democrats have generally been getting a lot of money poured into cities for problems, so obviously it hasn't been invested well. But there are some things that can be done if they're invested into the right areas.
So you're not saying or suggesting that you need more money? Because that's usually what the Democrats say. We need more money.
Well, I think you need role models, and I think you need role models. I think you need education, and I think you need jobs. I mean, as simple as that may sound, I think that'll solve the problem.
We have one of the lowest unemployment rates in the history of our nation.
Got to give those guys some
hope. The black unemployment rate is at its all-time record low.
Well, let's look at the black unemployment rate for those gang members, those teens inside their inner city. I'm pretty sure they're not as low. I can respect and understand the fact that the unemployment rate for African Americans is lower, but not for these guys. These guys need something. I can tell you from my experience personally, these guys are still looking for that opportunity for a role model and someone to kind of lift them up.
No, hey, I believe in mentors and getting them a good job. Gianno, you've got, both of you gentlemen have ties to Chicago. What do you think we need to do in Chicago?
Well, I was born and raised in Chicago, specifically on the South Side, and for me, this isn't just a matter of a discussion as we're doing now. We're in a literal state of emergency nationally. The city of Chicago is under siege. And at this particular point, and I've been shouting it from the rooftops, thankfully, on this platform, Fox News Channel, been blessed to have the opportunity to not just invite President Trump to Chicago, but we have to work on solutions. And those solutions come with a number of things. I can agree with Mr. Tall in terms of jobs. That's absolutely necessary. There's a great pastor who's a spiritual father to me, Dr. Bill Winston in Chicago. He has a great program where he's guiding folks, I think about 360 jobs with connecting them to manufacturers. These are people with backgrounds and records. So I can understand that. That's one element of it. Mental health is another element of it. But this law enforcement issue is very big. Let's think about the numbers here. We saw that about 7 people were killed. So the new updated number is 7 people killed from this past Friday to today. We have over 600 new police officers that hit the streets of Chicago, and the numbers are still as chaotic as they were in the beginning of the month. Just imagine if we invited the National Guard into Chicago. It wouldn't be 600 people there from the National Guard there. So that tells me that we have absolutely no choice. We have to put politics aside, and President Trump must come in. Laura Ingraham has been talking about this for a long time. We have to do a lot more for Chicago. This isn't a casual discussion for anyone. There's lives on the line. My brother almost lost his life last year due to the violence in Chicago. A 3-year-old was shot this weekend.
I mean, I can't even believe. I mean, we're talking about a city here. These numbers are astronomical, and I see failing policies. And if you want different results, you're going to have to do different things and probably instill some different people. That's why I don't know how you can re-elect a guy like Rahm Emanuel.
No, Rahm Emanuel must go. He's been nothing but a failure. And I think everyone can agree with that. I'm sure Mr. Tall, even as a Democrat, can agree that Rahm Emanuel is a failure that must leave.
So let me
There's
ask
no
Anthony,
question about it.
What Gianno's advocating is to not only bring Donald Trump in for a visit, on a rally or whatnot, or
not a visit. We need solutions. We're not doing rallies. We got to bring something to bear.
So the question is, would you support bringing in Donald Trump? And would you support, for instance, calling out the National Guard or taking a more drastic step? Because if it's truly a gang war, as you say, you know, your rookie cop on the beat isn't necessarily going to be able to take down the MS-13 that Donald Trump's been talking about for a long time.
Here's what I said to Laura Ingraham last week, and I'll say it again. I'm all for more police. Who's going to be against more police and more, and even perhaps a National Guard?
We just had an argument and a discussion with a guy who wants to abolish ICE.
Well, what I'm saying is when people are dying at the rate they are in Chicago. But
that's part of the problem, too. It's not all of it, but that's part of the problem.
But one of the things I'm concerned with is I'm concerned with an environment where you have a minority percent of people committing a high rate of crime and affecting everyone. And then you have a large police force coming in and National Guard coming in, and blanketly Fourth Amendment rights sometimes can get skewed. Things like that happen. And a guy walking the street gets ticketed, gets locked in jail, then he comes back out, he's in the gang, and the crime gets worse. I want it to be more strategic. I have nothing, and I understand Mr. Giovanni's point, but what I'm saying is this needs to be thought through. I have no problem with the president going in.
Good. Strategy is important, and I can agree with you on that. Absolutely, we have to have a strategy. That's why I said it's not a law enforcement argument. I just mentioned what Dr. Bill Winston has been doing. He's a church pastor in Chicago. What he's been doing, these are all great elements, but we have to have a very comprehensive plan. And for me, it's not simply inviting President Trump to come into Chicago to hear the community residents.
But when you say that, what do you want President Trump to do? Do you you know that there's laws?
Gentlemen, this is a discussion that is so worthy of. I mean, this is a place in crisis. The drug war that's going on, or the gang war that it's going on. I think Anthony makes some good, valid points. I think he's actually a reasonable mind on this and is willing to invite the president to come in if only the mayor and the city leaders would also take a humble pie, a little bit, dash a humble pie, and bring him in. State Representative LaShawn Ford has invited him in. Yeah.
State Representative LaShawn Ford, a Democrat, has invited him in, and he's been on this show actually talking about having President Trump come in.
But we're not going to try to do appeasement. Appeasement's not working.
Right, right.
Gentlemen, thank you again for the discussion. Why is Paul Manafort's defense team very happy after